I feel let's check in on a team that might actually have a tougher time this year. I mean, as bad as that decision was yesterday for Kapler, Pete Thompson, I feel like the Marlins might have a longer season. And Clark joins us now to continue our NL East Week previews here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Clark, welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing good. I mean, a lot of people want the manager here fired already. That means, I guess that's a good thing that people are interested. I guess the question right off the bat is, how interested are people in the Marlins this season?
Well, when you lose like a Giancarlo Stanton and a Marcell Ozuna and Christian Yelich and D. Gordon, you're not left with very many marquee names. I should have thrown in Ichiro in there as well. So you have a lot of no-name players, and I would say with the most people, the consensus pretty much among everybody is going to be a long season. Interest is not going to be high, to say the least.
Right. Other guys they have left, who's compelling? I mean, because there's got to, they got to put out 8 guys every day plus the pitcher. So who are some of the compelling guys on that team that they are trying to learn more about?
Well, I mean, it's Lewis Brinson, for one. He's an outfielder they got in the Yelich trade with Milwaukee. Looks like he's a potential star or has the possibility of becoming one. Most of the other guys that are the young prospects are still in the minors. And so it's going to be a wait for those guys to develop and show that they're ready to come up here before we get to see what they can do.
What is the thought around, obviously when Jeter came in there, they got a high-profile guy, but has it been well-received?
Has not been well-received? You mean? Well, here's the
No,
thing.
hasn't been well-received.
No, he hasn't been well-received. Well, here's the problem you're dealing with in this market. I don't think it's really Jeter so much as that it's the history of this club. And the history has been tear down, rebuild, tear down, rebuild. I mean, we're talking about a team, and I've always thought this was the most significant moment in this franchise and where everybody soured. They won the 1997 World Series, and they immediately tore it up and dismantled it. I mean, they didn't even get to have a year. I'm sorry about that. I'm in a parking garage and someone's alarm just went off. But they didn't even have a year to enjoy, a World Series title, the organization's first. They tore it down immediately, and the 98 team, which followed, lost 108 games. So from that point on, you have a fan base that has been burned, and they're suspicious. And every time there's a teardown, people just like, oh, here we go again. I mean, they've made trades, for example, because they couldn't afford the players, Miguel Cabrera to the Tigers, in which they got little back, or they didn't get a Miguel Cabrera back, let's put it that way. And now you just traded Giancarlo Stanton, to the Yankees, and what happens in his first game in the Bronx, he actually wasn't in the Bronx, it was in Toronto, I believe. He hits 2 home runs, has a big day, and he's a hero there. So fans here are just really bitter about the constant teardowns and the constant losing of stars.
You mentioned, financial, they couldn't pay guys and stuff like that. Would you consider that Miami should be considered a bigger market, or do you understand why? I mean, we know watching some of these games a lot of time. Now, yesterday, 32,000 was the announce, but a lot of times you watch a game, there's not a whole heck of a lot of butts in those seats. So do they have problems with paying guys because the draw is just not there?
Well, yeah, obviously, because, they were, 27th in attendance, reported attendance last year, and look, they've been fudging the numbers. They should have been dead last. I mean, they're giving away tickets. So basically, they pumped up their attendance figures. The Jeter group says they're not going to do that. They're going to only count tickets sold. Yesterday's announced crowd of almost 32,000 was legitimate based on the number of games I've seen here. I mean, the ballpark only holds 37,000. So, but still, they're not going to draw this year, given the team that they have.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Clark, the big question is, so I want to know a little bit about the Marlins, and can they really make baseball work in Miami? Because it seems like we ask that question every single year.
Well, not just Miami. How about Florida? Because Tampa hasn't been successful either.
Right.
And, it's a really weird state. I mean, there's a large market. This is one of the larger markets, the Miami market. You got Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach. But it's a low-revenue market. Fans, that just have not been enthusiastic about turning out. They don't turn out for the hockey team. The Dolphins have even struggled. I mean, it's a town that'll support a winner. They supported the Heat when the Heat had LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and probably among the 4 pro sports franchises down here, the Heat's doing the best. But, as soon as things go south, the fans jump off the bandwagon pretty quick.
Well, obviously, most people believe that this is going to be a long season. How long, Clark, do you think? Are we looking at 100, 110 loss type of season with this team?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, keep in mind, right now they've got some of their key players, a handful of their key players on the disabled list. Probably their best player, JT Realmuto, their catcher. Their number 2 starter, Dan Straley's on there. Martin Prado, their third baseman's on there. Wei-Yin Chen, who's, it's been a terrible signing. He's on there. And their starting shortstop's on there. So, when they get back, this team should be a little better. Their pitching's awful. Their starting pitching's awful. Their bullpen's actually halfway decent. It might be the strength of the team. They'll score some runs, not as many as they did before when you had Stanton and Yelich in the lineup. But it's going to be a long one. Yeah, 100 losses looks almost for certain.
Hey, Clark, how's this team supported by some of the bigger businesses down there and corporate business down there? Do they make money?
Well, Jeter saying that, he's coming in and trying to, ingratiate himself with the community, and that's what he's pretty much spent his time doing since they took over 6 months ago, is going around to businesses, corporations, trying to build sponsorships. And, this is a ballpark that still hasn't sold its naming rights, and it's been open since 2012. So they've got a lot of work to do, but they're kind of almost starting from zero. And, we'll just see. Time will tell whether businesses come in and they get corporate sponsorship.
There's a lot of people, the way that Jeter trade went down with Stanton, really thought, he was trying to help out the Yankees and sabotage. Are there a lot of people that are giving Jeter a chance down there, or are people, a little bit frustrated already?
Well, no, people are frustrated.
Yeah.
But I think most people who understand what knowledgeable fans understand that it had to be done. I mean, what you heard a lot here was why, this is a team that was 5th in the National League in run scored last year. They scored more runs than the Dodgers. And you had the MVP on the team, and people said, well, why don't they just add 2 starting pitchers? Well, to have brought back everybody, and not to get in bore people with figures, but to have brought back everybody from last year's team and to go out and sign 2 pitchers, their payroll would have been like the 5th highest in the majors. But they would have been up there with the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Yankees. And, in this market, you just can't, legitimize that. It just doesn't work. Plus, their minor league system was the worst in the majors. So they've got to rebuild. The only way for this organization to be successful is to stockpile minor leaguers and develop players. And they had nobody in the minor league system to help them. So now that's what they're trying to do.
Marlins in a rebuild. You could arguably call it a major rebuild. How about the future for Don Mattingly then? He's kind of in a no-win situation. It's a major rebuild. He had a short leash in L.A. with the Dodgers. So what kind of scrutiny is he under? Is he kind of like their version of what the Sixers did with Brett Brown? Does he make it through the rebuild?
Oh, I think so. He's been – look, I can tell you this. He's someone Mattingly has talked about he wants to teach. Well, this is the perfect teaching opportunity. He's been saying this for a couple of years, not when they tore it down. And he's all for this. I don't know how you can can a guy if they have an unsuccessful season, unless they're just completely sloppy and don't play fundamental baseball. So I don't know how you can expect a manager to make this situation any better.
Marlins, obviously, tough season ahead for them. They take on the Chicago Cubs. And Clark Spencer from the Miami Herald has covered the Marlins. He joined us here on NL East Week on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Clark, thank you so much.
Anytime.